Today we look at the top 10 cars that were voted for in 1983. Some of the cars on the list are iffy at best, and a few were to become duds and never heard from again. If you have a car that should have made the top 10, we want to know about it. Leave your comments below. Now on with the countdown. At number 10 was the 1983 AMC Renault Alliance. In 1983, the auto industry was all over the Renault Alliance. They thought the combination of Renault and AMC was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. Boy, were they wrong. Consumers were told to be enthusiastic about the car, and that the Alliance represented a blending of compact dimensions, surprising creature comforts, excellent fuel economy, good looks, and very pleasing over-the-road behavior that ought to have the various Japanese importers talking to themselves. Actually, the Japanese were laughing. The base version of the Alliance came in at less than $6,000 for 1983, and the leather-upholstered, stereo-equipped luxo model could be had for less than $9,000. The car featured a host of ingenious touches: the pedestal seats with their rocking chair adjustments, and the combination of trailing arms and concentric torsion bars in the rear suspension were just a few. Car and Driver magazine stated that if it were their choice to decide, they would make it the car of the year. Just for the record, the magazine admits they made a big mistake by listing the Alliance on their list in 1983. The Alliance has the arguable distinction of being the car that saved AMC, while at the same time the car possibly hastened the automaker's disappearance as an independent company. Production ended in 1987. At number 9 is the 1983 Pontiac 6000 STE. If the downsized General Motors big cars of 1977 were the best American cars since the end of World War II, the 1983 General Motors A-bodies were the best since 1977, and the Pontiac 6000 STE continued the tradition. Exactly opposite the 1983 Firebird, the 6000 STE was light and lively, featured the most up-to-date technology available from GM at the time, and came wrapped in a sheet metal that could only be described as controversial. In 1983, Car and Driver stated, "It is, by our lights, the most handsomely trimmed and detailed new product in the current GM portfolio." The model was discontinued in 1991. At number 8, the 1983 Toyota Celica Supra. Evolving from the first-generation model to the second-gen version was no easy task, but for Toyota, the company recognized that keeping it relatively similar would just curtail the momentum the Supra had. So it did away from the open headlights from the first incarnation and opted for pop-up headlights. Not only did the new feature fully embrace the Supra's sporty characteristics, but it also gave it its own identity, free from the Celica, cementing the sports car's own uniqueness and aesthetic awesomeness. An increase in length and wheelbase were also in store for the second-generation Supra, a decision Toyota came to in order to accommodate the larger engine of the model. Other than that, the fastback 2+2 dimensions were still there, and of particular note for the second-generation Supra was Toyota's decision to use a rear hatch sunshade so as not to mistake it with its biggest competitor at the time, the Nissan's Z models. The 1983 Toyota Celica came with a 2.8-liter dual overhead cam engine with 150 horsepower. It also came in 2 trim levels: P-Type, Performance Type, and L-Type, Luxury Type. The P-Type came with sporty options, such as 8-way adjustable seats. The L-Type was available with higher-end options such as leather seats, digital dash, and a high-tech trip computer. The 1983 Toyota Supra was and is loved for its sporty looks, reliability, and value. Toyota ceased sales of the Supra in the U.S. in 1998, but the 5th generation of the Supra was once again introduced in 2019. Coming in at number 7 was the 1983 Porsche 944. The Porsche 944 was the best news from Germany since the Porsche 911 in 1983. The 928 was one of the all-time great GT machines, but its very high price kept it out of the hands of traditional Porsche buyers. And traditional Porsche buyers weren't too sure about its styling or its front-mounted V8 engine at the time. The 944 could be bought for less than a 924 Turbo and was a better car in every respect. It had a different automotive personality from the 928, although it shared many of the large car's virtues and niceties. At the time, it was all German, which set it clearly apart from the current generation of Japanese sports coupes. It had handling, road holding, and nimbleness that the Japanese manufacturers in 1983 had yet to duplicate. It was a car that had greatness stamped all over it at the time. Production of the Porsche 944 ended in 1991. At number 6 was the 1983 Chevrolet Caprice Classic. The Impala was Chevrolet's popular flagship passenger car and was among the better-selling American-made automobiles in the United States. The great big American car, the 1983 Chevrolet Caprice wooed buyers with an undeniable combination of room, ride, comfort, safety, and better fuel economy than one might expect in 1983. 1983 EPA numbers for the most popular combination. 305 V8 engine with a 4-speed automatic transmission gave 17 miles per gallon city and 30 on the highway. It's not difficult to see why the good-natured big American car was in the top 10 list. In 1983, the car could be had for $9,277. That was hard-to-beat value for the year model. The Caprice was smooth, silent, and was large enough to take the whole family to the drive-in theater. Sadly, Chevy discontinued its 50-year run in 2020. At number 5 was the Ford Mustang GT. The basic American high-performance car. The GT was a true Mustang, with lineage going straight as an arrow back to the 289 Mustangs of the 60s. The car made none of the promises embodied in designs like the Datsun 280ZX or the Camaro and Firebird. It was a pure and less sophisticated sports car for those that wanted performance in 1983. It was light, quick, and powerful by 1983 standards, and was all the rage. The overall look and feel of the 1983 Mustang was headed in the right direction from the introduction of the 1979 Mustang. But the 1983 Mustang's greatest virtue, in combination with its very entertaining personality, was its base price. The Mustang GT sold for only $9,700 and had undercut and outperformed an awful lot of cars in 1983. At number 4 was the 1983 Volkswagen Rabbit GTI. The VW was on the way back in 1983 with this great new GTI. Not as fast as a European model, but fast enough to keep up with the best Pontiac Trans Am and at an unbelievable price of just $7,995. It was a car that fans in the U.S. had been waiting for. It was a fast, entertaining, high-quality car at an affordable price for 1983. It was also built at an American assembly line by American workers. Performance numbers were great. How about 10.6 seconds for 0 to 60, or a quarter-mile time of 17.7 seconds at 76 miles per hour? This performance gave drivers of this little car smiles and enormous grins. At number 3 was the 1983 Honda Accord. The Honda Accord had consistently proven itself the best of the econoboxes test after test. It seemed like every car manufacturer in the world had torn down an Accord, scratched his corporate head, and marveled at how they managed to build such a well-balanced car. The Accord was the definition of fit and finish. When an Accord sat beside a Mercedes 380 SEL, it was tough to find the extra $37,000 for the Mercedes, and we're confident that many consumers at the time would agree with that statement. Hondas, however, are not clones of European cars. They are superior, well-built cars. Their roadability, their personalities, their general feel are much more in the American context than the European cars. From a remarkable automobile, motorcycle, ATC, portable generator, lawnmower, cultivator, and outboard motor company, Honda continues to build the best-class reliable cars today. At number 2 is the 1983 Mazda RX-7. The Mazda RX-7 is the car you would have bought when you had all the right instincts and wanted the best handling, but couldn't afford a Porsche. The RX-7 did for the 80s what the MG did in the 60s, or the Datsun 240Z did in the late 70s, and what no American-made car had done at the time. The 1983 RX-7 provided an affordable sports coupe, fun for the driver who was buying their first new car. It was loaded with features, coin boxes, trick radios, electric mirrors, and all the other automotive gadgets for which the Japanese were famous for. Its exterior was clean and purposeful, and was almost the right size. It was a practical yet stimulating car for its time. At number 1 was the 1983 Mercedes-Benz 380 SEL. The Mercedes-Benz 380 series cars were great by anybody's standards in 1983. It was unfortunately also true that you'd have to trade in your firstborn to buy one. One could be forgiven for driving off in one thinking of how a company was able to build a pretty decent car in 1983 for $48,000, which is about $123,000 in 2021 money. Nonetheless, the Mercedes was the world's reigning sedan. It was fast for its time and comfortable. All the more comfortable because it fairly reeks safety and structural integrity. There is nothing like a big Mercedes with V8 power. It was a car that was simultaneously fun to drive, strong and luxurious, and only for those that could afford it. Well, that about wraps it up for us. The top 10 cars that were voted for in 1983. What was your favorite car of the 80s? We'd like to know. Leave us your comments below. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell to be notified of our next videos. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.